How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Universal Veteran here again with another video, and I just want to kind of sit here and talk with you guys about one aspect of miniature painting that I thoroughly enjoy. Something that I really enjoy doing, something that I would say I enjoy doing just as much as painting the models, and that is the aspect of basing. I feel, this is my own personal opinion, so don't bite my head off, but I feel like if you don't have your models based to a certain level of standard, then it shouldn't be qualified to be placed on a board and played on a game. I understand that not everybody has the money and the luxury to go out and buy a bunch of 3D printed, let's just say, skulls or candles or little mini terrain pieces. And that's perfectly fine, but you need to do at least the bare minimum of, you need to put some kind of, it can't just be a blank fucking pad. These are characters that are standing, they are posing, they are going into battle, and they need to be represented in the landscape that they are currently fighting in. So for me, when it comes to all of my models, I tend to stick to the same type of basing design when it comes to, let's just say, my Custodes, right? So I paint and I build my Custodes in a certain way that represents them in, I like to put it, they're at the Imperial Palace. They are standing on rubble. They're standing on sacred ground of the Emperor, defending and leading the charge against whatever foe may be attacking Terra at the time. Obviously, making and basing my Custodes in just one certain scheme or one certain landscape really doesn't work if I ever were to take my models to a tabletop game and, we're in a fucking sand desert. It doesn't really make sense that I have all my guys, standing in a rubble-strewn battlefield. But I'm not a big war gamer, so it might be kind of hypocritical for me to say you need to do something in a certain way when you play the game, but we're all human. We deserve to have our own opinions, and regardless if I do or do not play the game, if I'm going against an opponent, let's just say 5 years in the future, I would expect them to, put the same amount of love and effort into their models that I would. We're not going to go into a full rant on this subject, but I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of how I go about basing and building my models, and how I go about actually doing the terrain pieces for each one of my units. So we're going to do Custodes. Custodes are easiest, and I have them right here. So this is a Shadowkeeper that I'm currently working on. Like I said, all of my Custodes are, they are based in a certain type of standard. So I initially put some cork down on top of a base. I will pull out some of my basing materials and show you exactly what I do since we're here. So let's pull out a base and go from there. So we'll pull out a little mini base right here. I have a drawer. I have everything separated between the size of the base itself. This jar is for 15 to 32 millimeter bases, and I have another jar that is 32 millimeter bases and above. I typically don't use bases that are really large unless I plan on doing a lot of detail in the terrain itself. But for the most part, you can be forgiven to just put the bare minimum on small bases like this. So when I'm going to design a base, I typically think to myself, okay, what is this model going to be for? Who is it going to be, and what is their role, and where are they going to be at? So let's just take, let's grab something that's not on a base. Yeah, fuck it. We'll grab it. We'll grab an orc. So I have an orc right here that's glued onto this base. What I will do is I will take the model off and I will start working on the base itself. So all of my orcs are in winter tundra. I like to base it off of Gazkul's home planet. Forgot its name, but all I know is he was in a fucking wintry hell in that book. So I think to myself, okay, how am I going to go about basing this? So for me, I've tried multiple different ways of creating the best effect for a winter tundra, but you can do it a lot of ways. This one just works best for me. So I will initially place a bit of cork on top of the base in a kind of zigzag pattern, making little two rocky outgroves. I will glue them down, and then I will, once everything's glued, I will apply some terrain paste. So this one, as an example, is Diorama FX Thick Mud. This I typically use for my Death Guard just because how it looks is a consistency close to like a swampy, muddy area. But I will typically cover my orc bases with the Diorama FX ground texture, and this is like a wintry, snowy mixture. I'll cover the model completely in all of this and let it set, let it dry. After it's done drying, I will then go ahead and let's see. Let me grab one that's done. Since orcs are small and the bases themselves are tiny, I tend to put a little bit of snow, and I paint the model in a bluish shade. That way it gives it the feel as if they're running on ice, or they're running on, you know, solid ice chunks in like Antarctica. I know I'm kind of jumping around here. I'm not the best when it comes to explaining shit, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's really easy. It's just a matter of getting the base, kind of thinking to yourself, what is your army going to be and where they're going to be at? You know, if you have Skaven, like I do, I'm going to make them all in desert. So I'm going to get some sand from my local fucking trail, and I'm going to put some Elmer's glue on there. I'm going to dip it in some of the sand, and there you go. You know, you can add some grass. I have entire containers filled with grass. This is from Epic Basing. They sell pretty much a myriad amount of different types of grass. So, for instance, with the orcs, I have this. This is snow weeds. I tend to put this on my squigs and my Gretchen. I also have the blue, so like an alien grass. I put that on my orcs just because I like to imagine, you know, they're on a distant planet. It's not going to be fucking Earth, so who's to say that there's not some fucking blue grass, you know, growing in the middle of the tundra? I mean, it's not realistic, but it's 40K, so you can kind of be forgiven to come up with your idea of basing. But yeah, let me go back to... So that's pretty much how I go about painting and basing. When it comes to my Death Guard, I tend to do a little bit more just because I also add like an oozing swamp vibe to it. So you can get that like swampy, you know, Nurgle, rotting, decay, and all that jazz. But in terms of my Custodes, like I said, I tend to place them in the Imperial Palace, and I tend to put skulls around them just because Custodes kick ass, and, you know, they fucking take names. So you can safely say that they've killed a bunch of humans, demons, whatever the hell it may be around them as they're fighting. So all of my Custodes, between the gold and the black, the Shadow Keepers and the traditional, they each get their own little set of skulls and terrain pieces. But yeah, I still have to add that's what I'm currently working on, adding terrain to all of my Custodes. And you know, this stuff it's really easy, you know. I mean, the biggest concern is really just the cost. You know, not everybody, like I said, can just go onto Etsy and buy a bunch of fucking basing materials um, in mass. You know, I get that. All you need to do is add a little bit of texture paste or a little bit of Elmer's glue and dip the bitch in some gravel, and you know, you got something. You can at least do the bare minimum. So I don't know. I just don't really see any excuses in that aspect. I mean, I've collected and I have terrain of every shape and size. You know, I'll show you, turn my camera around just so you can see. I have an entire organizer meant for different types of terrain pieces that I want to add. This one is like Battlefield. So I have like Battlefield cases, canisters, ammo. I have terrain crystals. I have a bunch of different types of crystals that I could add into a base in the future. I have mushrooms because, you know, I do Nurgle a lot, so I have a bunch of different types of mushrooms. Also have like dead rats and some tentacles in there as well. I also have dead bodies because, you know, when I do bigger bases, I want to have, you know, some rotting, disgusting looking fucking dead meat, you know, lying on the ground with like Rotigus or the Great Unclean One and whatnot, you know. So you ultimately don't need to have as much as I. They sell it really cheap on Etsy. I mean, I will go on here while I'm on here and give you some ideas. I will drop a few links in the description of different types and where you can find this at. I will put the link for the Etsy orders and whatnot and go from there, just so you guys can get a good idea of what to get in the future. So like this guy, he has, this is in my cart, by the way. So this guy, he has alien plants, 12 pieces for $9. Dead men on spikes for D&D dungeons, $16. You get explosion FX, so you can get explosion grenades going off and whatnot. 10 pieces. You know, you could buy a pack of 238 skulls, miniature skulls for $30, you know. Or this guy has mushrooms, almost 300 of them for $12, you know. And like I said, you don't need to buy the whole catalog, but if you want to impress your opponent and maybe give them a little bit of motivation to up their game a little bit, then go ahead and get yourself some terrain pieces, add them to your base, paint them up, and trust me, they will look fantastic on the tabletop. Hopefully one day in the future, when I ever get the urge or desire to actually play this fucking game, I will, you know, I can speak with my actions instead of my words. But I don't know. That's just a little topic that I wanted to talk about. I'm free today, so figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a video, just to tell you what I'm doing, what I'm working on. But I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out as always, everybody, and have a nice night.